Our next presentation is a Kahoot interactive game titled Domestic Violence, Sexual Assault, and Substance Abuse with Katie Petro. Katie is OCO's Services to Aid Families school-based advocate educator located primarily in the G. Ray Bodley High School in Fulton. Services to Aid Families, SAFE, provides residential and non-residential services to survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, dating violence, elder abuse, and stalking, as well as crime victims. Services are designed to assist and empower survivors, as well as to mobilize a coordinated community-wide response to those issues. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you very much. I also have Mel with me, who is the Oswego High School school-based advocate.
Hi there.
So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing our screen with our PowerPoint. Okay. Okay, so we are, like Teresa said, we are the Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault program of Oswego County. And what we're going to do is just go over a little bit about substance abuse, domestic violence, some statistics, and a little bit about what we do as a program in a whole. So this is our services wheel. It just was updated. In the middle there, you'll see our crisis hotline. So we do have a 24-hour free confidential hotline. So if any of these services look like something that you may need, or if you would like to refer someone out, they can get a hold of our program by calling that number inside that circle. We are going to start right up at the top right corner. We do have free counseling for victims and survivors. Our counselor is on staff. She does not bill insurances. And if someone is a victim of a crime, domestic violence, sexual assault, trafficking, any of the things that we go over today, they can call our hotline to schedule a pre-screening and intake to become a client for counseling. We also have our Bridges support group for survivors of domestic violence. That was meeting in person, but now with COVID and everything, I think she's working on getting that to become virtual. Our victim support project, we have advocates that are located at the district attorney's office. We help with many different programs, such as the Integrated Domestic Violence Court, as well as we have an attorney new to our program for free legal assistance. Popping down to the crime victims compensation, we have assistance and case management to reimburse victims from the New York State Office of Victim Services program. We do help clients fill out the application to help them, like with medical bills, say that they were out at a bar and got into a fist fight and broke their glasses. We might be able to help, fill that application out, explain what went on, get a copy of that police report, and help case manage to get them compensated for their glasses. So just an example, but we also do that with our sexual assault responses to the hospital. No bills are involved just due to our crime victims compensation. Education and training, which is outreach to youth professionals, communities to end abuse and increase access to services, which is what myself and Mel both do. We are both educators and advocates, school-based advocates. So I'm in the G. Ray Bodley School District, Fulton. And
I'm at the Oswego School District. And then we also have advocates who are located on SUNY Oswego's campus, CCC's campus. We're working with Phoenix High School to find a location there. And then Hannibal is under construction, but we still are offering advocacy services to the students there.
Yeah. So another big program of ours is we have our DVCPS advocates, which is domestic violence and child protective services advocates, and as well as adult protective services advocates. So we have people out there, I think 2 days a week at CPS. We work with non-offending parents that have an open CPS case that are victims of domestic violence. Unfortunately, that does seem to be a very popular program. And we have adult protective services. So a lot of that is like financial abuse, physical abuse with elderly or disabled population. And we have our advocate, Jess, who works out of that office. So let's see here. Our transitional housing program is our rental, relocation, and emergency assistance for safe permanent housing. We do a lot of different case management with that program, as well as rental assistance, helping people get back on their feet once they have either entered shelter or have, get out of a really bad relationship and they're looking to get out on their own and need a little bit of help with that. We have 2 more left. We have our Safe House, which is our temporary domestic violence shelter for victims and their children. That is, I'm sure if you're not familiar with SAFE, but it's just like Onondaga County's program, the Vera House. We actually have our own Safe House somewhere in Oswego County. So we do provide those shelter services for victims. And last but not least, we have our sexual assault response. So we have 24-hour advocacy and accompaniment to the ER or police stations. Our only hospital that we do respond to is Oswego Hospital. It's the only hospital in Oswego County. So a lot of people sometimes are like, oh, like, what do you do? Like when you're not a nurse, you're not a doctor, but we are advocates. So we actually are bedside with the victim and we talk to them about, maybe the different prophylactic medications they might be prescribed, or maybe if they have a question and they're kind of nervous to talk to the doctor about, we're just kind of there and we're like, we're here for you. We're sorry that this has happened to you. And that's a 24-hour service. And if I could be on call 2 days a week, or 2 days a month, I'm sorry, and I can get a call, it could be 3 a.m. and I'd be laying in bed and I get a call that says like, hi, Katie, you have a victim at the Oswego Hospital. They need your assistance. There's been a sexual assault. So I'd get up, get in work clothes, drive to the hospital, and I'd be there. And oftentimes when they're in the emergency room, they do want to report to the police, as well as we do accompany to police stations for domestic violence and sexual assault. So that is our service wheel. Does anyone have any questions on any of those programs or want any more information while we're on this?
If you think of something, feel free to pop it in the chat box and we'll check that.
Yes.
So we're going to jump right into it. And we just wanted to kind of talk about how our social bias can tie into the services that are available to people. So unfortunately, there is a pretty strong social bias against addiction, whether that is, this could never happen to my family, I don't want to think about it, whether it's that only happens to a certain group of people who behave a certain kind of way, whatever it is, there's a bias against addiction. And a lot of times people are uncomfortable with it, they're uncomfortable talking about it, they're uncomfortable addressing it, they're uncomfortable seeing the results of it. And unfortunately, a lot of the people on this, training with us, and Katie and I included, we work with young people. And when addiction becomes part of the conversation, it can also lead to society ignoring the needs of young victims of abuse and neglect, because certainly abuse and neglect are very, very common, very serious side effects of addiction, of a parent who is using some kind of substance in the household. It's really hard to parent appropriately if that is what we're focused on. And that leads to those victims continuing to suffer poor mental and physical health, not only as children, but as adults. And that leads us into this perpetual generational cycle of not only addiction, but also of abuse, because again, it goes hand in hand that someone who is not in a healthy mental state, who is not sober, is not necessarily able to make the right decisions, the healthiest decisions for themselves and their family. And that can lead to, even if not abuse at their hands, it can leave those in their family vulnerable to abuse at the hands of others, whether it is drug dealers, whether it's people who are in and out of the house, whether it's Susie, Sarah's friend, this person who we've never seen before, but they seem real nice, so they're coming in. Whatever it is, there's a lot of exposure, and we have to change the fact that we don't want to talk about it if we want to do anything to prevent it.
So addiction and domestic violence share a number of characteristics. So loss of control. So oftentimes when someone is, deep in a domestic violence relationship, they feel like they just lost control of everything. That really does go hand in hand with addiction as well. Like they know what they have to do to get out of that situation, or they know what they have to do to get help, but it's just kind of like they don't really know, what to do. They kind of feel like they don't have the power or control over that.
That hopeless feeling is the same. Just because it's addiction versus an abusive relationship, it feels the same, and it's their norm.
Right. There's also a lot of continued behavior despite negative consequences. So, someone could be in a really bad relationship or just have been sexually assaulted, and then, their behavior towards that, they can't break the cycle of, leaving that partner or leaving that place where they're providing them a bed just so that they can use and, still continue to be assaulted. So, a lot of times that we often see in our program, a lot of people could be trafficked and they might not even know it. They could say, I'll let you stay here if you provide me with this sexual favor and I'll give you drugs. So that's considered trafficking. And it's very scary. And this is just, we're just going to touch the surface on this a little bit, but, it's sad and scary and very prevalent in our community. And then addiction and abuse tend to worsen over time, and both conditions involve denial or shame.
Again, if we know that our society doesn't want to talk about this stuff, that we tend to other the people who are experiencing that abuse or addiction, that person knows that, and they know that the conversation is not going to be a comfortable one and that people aren't going to want to have it. So abusers coerce victims and survivors into using in a lot of different ways for a lot of different reasons. They might introduce their partner to drugs, or they might use drugs around them. And that also might be happening before the relationship turns abusive. It might be a fun thing. Oh, we're going to go party on Friday night. Or it gets introduced in a way where the person doesn't really feel comfortable with it, but it isn't like introduced into their lives in a threatening way. But then all of a sudden, it's the norm. The drugs are being used around them all the time, and it starts to feel confusing. That person might not be able to differentiate between whether or not this is something that everyone else is doing or not, because we know what we see. We know what's around us. The victim survivor might not feel safe saying no. So maybe, that person, that partner that they're with is already pressuring them or ignoring when they say no about other topics. So they know that there's no point in saying no. They do not have control over their life, over their personal situation currently, because someone else has taken it from them. And they don't feel safe saying no because maybe there will be negative consequences if they do. And also, once that partner does start using, it enables a whole new level of control over them. That's why that abuser will push for it so hard. Not only can they potentially control their partner's ability to engage in treatment, I've been using, I don't feel okay about this, I want to go out and change things. Maybe the abusive person is not letting that person leave. They're not letting them attend their treatments, which in turn makes them look bad in the eyes of the program they're supposed to be participating in, and can also limit their access to resources in the future. It can also be a huge means of control over somebody if they have children. If you're using, then I'll report you to CPS as using, and they'll drug test you. And when they drug test you and find that you've been using, they'll take the kids away from you. Because again, we're looking for means of control here. Somebody might sabotage their partner's recovery efforts or their sobriety, because again, we can use that against them. Maybe, in court when they're looking for custody of their children, that person will say, oh, well, they've been in, recovery for the last year. Do you really think that it's okay to let this person do whatever? Yeah, this person is trying to better their lives. They're working hard to become, healthier and happier and more comfortable with who they are. And it shouldn't be held against them. But is it? Absolutely. It can also be used for mental health coercion. Oh, this will make you feel better. You know, maybe we don't have access to actual medical care. Maybe we don't have access to insurance. Maybe we can't go to counseling and get this, but hey, I got this thing that'll make you feel better. Unfortunately, we're talking about people who are living horror movies. You know, their reality is something unimaginable, and that might appeal to them to be able to escape for a little while. And unfortunately, that's a very slippery slope, a dangerous road. And last but not least, it can isolate from support systems because, again, like we talked about on that first slide, our culture is not comfortable with addiction. It is not comfortable with talking about these things. And unfortunately, it can isolate us from people who used to be our supports. You know, once we've talked to this person so many times about it, it can get really frustrating and somebody might find themselves pulling back. It isolates us from our support system.
So, just some more continued, they could force a partner into withdrawal. So, you know, withholding, yeah, it's life-threatening, and withholding that drug unless the person, you know,
does
performs,
ABC.
Yeah, performs some, an act of sexual favors, or if they say, you know, if you don't do this, if you don't do that, then I won't provide you with this drug. So it's very scary. Use substance abuse history is a threat. So just like actually Mel said,
I jumped ahead, sorry.
Yeah, deportation, CPS, police, courts, schools, job, threatening to do all of those things is actually something that we see quite a bit. Discredit them to friends, family, and others. Say someone's having a really great day and you know, so they discredit them to friends, family, and others. So yeah, so say someone's having like a really good day. They're like, you know, I'm going to try to get treatment. I'm going to get my kids back. I'm going to do this. And then their abuser says, oh, no, you're not. All you are is a junkie. All you are is this, you know. And those are things that I've worked with victims and at our shelter, or even students that they've been through something similar, and that discredit or put downs in general is really detrimental. The control of their medication, coerce partner to engage in illegal acts to support drug use, so dealing, stealing, trafficking, and blaming abuse on the partner's use. So to jump in, we're gonna quickly do our Kahoot statistic game. So hopefully all of you guys know how to play Kahoot. If not, we're gonna pull up a code for you to play on. Let's see here. Can you guys all see our screen? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. We're just waiting for it to pull up the way we want it to. Come on. What the heck?
Let's see. Is it? There we go.
Wouldn't be an OCO presentation without technical difficulties. All right.
Yes, as soon as you see the game pin at the top. Sorry, the music's pretty dramatic.
It's spooky season, so who's getting on spooky season with us?
So as soon as you see that pin on the top of our screen, go ahead and go to Kahoot and add
Logged in?
Yes, add the code. Yeah, the pumpkins. I love the pumpkins. Oh,
no.
sorry. We will go ahead and.
Is everybody else experiencing that, or is everyone else seeing the Kahoot? Because we've got a message that somebody's only seeing our PowerPoint. There should be Kahoot on your screen, so it should say join at Kahoot.
Oh, our only PowerPoint.
Oh no. All right. Well, we might not be.
All right, can everyone see it now? So you just have to go to www.kahoot.it and put in this game pin at the top. It's 6378591. Oh yeah.
You can play right on your phone, honestly. When we usually do it with students, they generally just play right off their phone. But if you want to leave the screen, you're more than welcome.
Oh, there we go. We have people. Yay.
There we go.
Okay, awesome. So we'll give you like maybe one more minute and then we'll try to
See what we
cruise
can get
through.
through.
All right, we've got 5 players so far. Okay. Okay. All right, we're gonna go ahead and start. What % of female rape victims say
That they experience symptoms of PTSD in the weeks following?
.94%. All right.
It's a huge number. It's certainly understandable why it's not the one you would guess, but also really valuable to know that pretty much everybody is feeling some kind of way after that, and we need to be extra considerate. All right, what % of domestic violence victims were pressured or forced to use drugs or made to use more than they wanted? So even if they were using like willingly, they were forced to use
Okay. Okay, so it is 27%.
Yeah.
So I get why you would definitely pick 37 because it's a higher percentage, but that is.
But I mean, that's more than 1 in 4. So again, that's a huge number still.
BC, doing good.
All right. Okay, what % of domestic violence victims used drugs to reduce the pain of the abuse they were experiencing, whether it was, physical pain, emotional pain, to try to distance themselves from their symptoms?
Yeah,
26%. So again, a huge percentage of people who are experiencing
it's like
it.
1 in 4.
Yep. Are you also using?
So we do have 13 questions, but I know we won't get through it because we only have 3 minutes left.
Yeah.
But I can go ahead and, we can go ahead and pop back to our presentation and cruise through the last few slides, but we do offer full day trainings as well. Sorry about the little technical difficulty that we had with that Kahoot game, but we definitely would be more than willing to provide a training to anyone that would like one, more in depth. And I appreciate even this virtual event. This is really awesome. So let's see here. Oh,
there we go.
Okay. And, yep. Perfect. So I really like this quote, let's stop reading statistics and start changing them. So if you know of someone that is in a domestic violence relationship, being trafficked is going through sexual assault as well as addiction, connect them to services. We are available 24/7, and oftentimes we'll see victims say that they started using drugs because of the abuse that they have gone through, or because of the sexual assault as a child that they have gone through. They've never, really received that mental health counseling or, services that they really needed to. So.
Absolutely. I mean, you guys can be the beginning of that conversation change. And even if it's not a conversation you're ready for, just connecting them to appropriate services shows them somebody cares about what happens to them.
Right. So these are some considerations for providers.
Just be patient with people. They might behave in ways that you don't understand, or that are unpredictable, or that you just don't understand why they don't want to engage in their treatment, or we're offering them this thing that seems amazing, but they're hesitant. We don't know their experiences and why they might not trust. So,
right. They might be reluctant to seek treatment because of what memories it might surface if they stop using, punishment.
Or judgment. Judgment is as bad as punishment.
Let's see. Being heard and validated is so important. Obviously, as service providers, we know that, but just, a reminder that sometimes with addiction and especially domestic violence and sexual assault, it's really important, hearing them out, validating their feelings, and letting them know that there is services available. Mm-hmm. Here's some references, and we do have some social media. So if you'd like to further follow our program, we have our Facebook, a small YouTube channel that's just started, Instagram, and a Twitter page.
It is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, October. So we are doing lots of really fun things to kind of raise awareness and start a conversation around that. And if you look on our social media, we do have a calendar we've created